Good afternoon, my fiber friends. This is your host, Evelyn, and welcome to my knit and chat number 3. I think the last time I had one of those knit and chats was on August 20th. So we're due for another one. So welcome to my channel. I'm your host, Evelyn, and I knit a lot. I knit actively for 3 yarn dyers or stores. The first one is the Little Red Mitten in St. Thomas. The second one is the Loving Path in Wardley Village in London, Ontario here. And the third one is Feisty Fibers in Toronto. Now, Feisty Fibers is new to me. I only added that in the last couple of months, but I do have a couple of customers as well here and there. So I do knit a lot. And then, of course, my list is never ending. So let's grab a tea or a coffee. I have my tea here in my Happy Halloween mug. And what's new in your corner of the world? What have you knitted? What have you tried knitting? What have you dyed anything? Let me know your successes and your fails, because I had a few of each this month. So why don't we try with what I am wearing? What I'm wearing today is the Low Tide sweater from Rachel Illsley. And it is a beautiful sweater. It's a test knit. It is out right now. It is just gorgeous. It has cables on the sleeves as well as cables down the front. Now, I'm normally not crazy about cables down the front because, as you can see, I'm a bigger girl. I'm curvy. So, yeah, I normally don't do that. But this yarn here, this Holst Super Soft, it comes from Denmark. And I do want to say it is called Holst Super Soft, but just naming it that way or saying it does not make it super soft. So when you touch it, it's actually a pretty hardy, yarny, grippy yarn. It smells like sheep when you wet it. So it's not soft like a merino or anything, but it is super light. One of these combs, I think, has 3,000 meters or something like that on it. And it weighs only a pound, like 500 grams, European pound. So the sweater, I think, weighs 250 grams, if that. I seem to have a lot left. It has, the way that it is spun, it has a little bit of different colors in it. So it's quite beautiful. I find it soft, even though we had talked about that before, that I have rheumatoid arthritis, and through that, my skin and my physical needs change a little bit. So before, I used to love really hardy yarns and they wouldn't bother my skin. So I can still touch it and everything, but it is, rheumatoid arthritis is an autoimmune disease. So it does affect my skin and how I feel things. So all of a sudden, things that didn't bother me before actually bother me right now, and I do have to go through my sweaters and have a look and see what is it that I can wear and what is it that I cannot wear. Like even this one here, it is so thin that I can wear a t-shirt under it or whatever, like a long sleeved, and that'll be fine. But I really will have to go through my stuff and have a look. But anyways, this is called Low Tide by Rachel Illsley. It is knitted in Robin Egg. That is the color. And I'll have a link below to that sweater. The second one that I had finished is called Lace Delight by Gabrielle Vezina. It is also 100% wool yarn, and it's by the West Yorkshire Spinner Color Lab DK. The color is hazel brown. I forget what number it is, but again, I'll link that on the bottom as well. And this is a heavier sweater. I think this sweater weighs 700 grams or whatever. So it's almost 2 pounds that this sweater here. Sorry for the wrinkles. I had it folded. And then, of course, I had it in the car because we were driving to get really good pictures. We drove to Stratford, which is a theatre town here in Ontario, southwestern Ontario. And many actors play on the stage there. It's just a gorgeous town. So obviously to take pictures is just really pretty down there. And because the sweater is heavier, I decided to give it shorter sleeves so that I can wear a long sleeved white or beige or brown or green or whatever I want under it. But look how gorgeous this pattern is, and it was written so lovely. It really was, and it was a joy to knit actually. Gorgeous, just gorgeous. And this sweater has also been released. This was also a test knit. Then I finished, and I started this some time ago. I don't remember when I had started it. But I must have gotten busy with store knits or whatever, so often my knits take a back seat. So I was in between things, and I thought I always get things past the yoke so that I can work in the car, or when I visit with my sisters, or I visit anywhere. Like, there's really no place where I will not knit, to be honest. If we go to a restaurant and we wait for the food, I'm knitting socks. I don't take the bigger stuff in, but I always have a sweater or socks on the go. The socks are easy because they're just little things. You can take them anywhere. They stick into your bag and off you go. So I had made my daughter, this is maybe a few years ago already, I made her a purple fingering weight yarn Magnolia Bloom sweater. I don't think it was called Magnolia Bloom exactly, but it was by the same lady. And it had baubles on it and leaves, and just really pretty. And then, of course, she had a chunkier version, and it's almost like a mini dress that you can wear over leggings or tights or whatever, or a skirt. And then this sweater would go over, or darker leotards or tights or whatever you would like. And I kind of like that idea, even though I can't really have anything tight on my legs. That'll just drive me crazy. Plus, it would activate the swelling in my legs. So that's not a thing. So give me a second. I will show it to you before I made a little slit in the side and made the back a little bit longer. I'll show you what I used for yarn, and then I'll put it on for you. It's just a lovely, lovely sweater. And I only had maybe about this much left to do in the bottom, plus the sleeves. So I think in 2 evenings I finished that. So give me 1 second and I will try it on, and then we'll talk about the yarn. All right, I am back. And as you can see, it's just beautiful. There are baubles on here, and because I made these baubles, I did a little tutorial on how to get these baubles to stand up and not collapse. I'm normally not a friend of baubles, but I think in here the berries just kind of make it. It is just beautiful. Now, and of course, it's quite a bit longer. So it covers my bum by about 2 inches, or maybe 3. So I would be able to wear it with an A-line skirt or snugger pants or whatever. I did use the Holst Super Soft, and this sweater here I held double because I think it was knitted with 6 or 6.5 millimeters. And as you can see, the yarn is really thin. It almost looks like a thinner weight fingering yarn, but once you block that and it blooms, it plumps up really pretty. So I would definitely say you can knit this yarn on a single with a 4, maybe even a 4.5, and it'll turn out light and airy, but not really see-through, because it does plump up. But here I held the yarn double, and as you can see, I'm not a little girl, so I wound up, or I caked some of this yarn on here, and I have all of this left. I'll get another sweater out of this for sure. And I matched it up with some Leo and Roxy mohair, and it is really light and warm. So this sweater is maybe just over half a pound. It's incredible, this Holst Super Soft, and I really do like it. And because the mohair is in it, so it actually lost all of the scratch factor for me, which I'm not really sensitive about any of that anyway. So don't necessarily go by what I like. You'd have to feel it, but it does soften up. So the rough and the scratchy that you kind of feel, and people do this, like, it's only good to do this if you actually use a sweater or whatever. Like if it's mittens, then you feel it with your hands, or your feet are not as sensitive as your face, so sometimes that doesn't work. But anyways, it won't be as rough as it is on the cone or on the cake. And I believe this is a really affordable yarn, because it is I think now it's probably about $65 Canadian for one of those cones. And like I said, I can get 2 sweaters out of it, and this is a rather large baby that I'm wearing right now. And then of course I use the Leo and Roxy mohair, and it just paired perfect. So these 3 items that I showed you, they were already past the yoke. I had to finish the sleeves, I had to finish the body. But again, 2 of these are short sleeved, and the only one of them is long sleeve. Now they did have cabling and all of that, but it was actually quite enjoyable. For me, it takes the boredom out a little bit without being too much of a challenge, and I use charts almost, well, I want to say exclusively. If it's all written out, completely turns me off, because I can't. Some brains work different. So for me, my brain works by, I look at the chart and I know exactly. I don't need a legend for the chart or anything. I know which way that the cables move. I can see if I make a mistake right in my sweater, I can see that right away. I usually have stitch markers at the beginning and at the end of every repeat, so I don't use lifelines, but I'll know if I make a mistake right in that 8, 10, 12, 15 stitch repeat, whatever you have, because it won't work out. So all I have to do is think back a little bit or check what did I do, where, and what's going on. So it's pretty easy to catch up for me. So that's on the sweaters. The rest that I did knit a weekender for Feisty Fibers, and that went to the Kitchener Waterloo Yarn Fest. Had a brain fog there for a minute. Sorry about that. So now I'll come to two things that that I had just started and finished this month. This is a test and it's called Turbridge Cowl. And because I'm here in Canada, I thought this maple leaf is just gorgeous. So I signed up for the test and I used some yarn that I had dyed before, and I used it down in here, and I used it up in here, and I must have had that yarn for a few years already. I actually had no idea what to do with it. I really didn't like the colors, but I actually didn't cake it up. It was just in the ink, and it was Briggs Little Durasport, and wasn't really sure what I was going to do with it. But I thought, well, I do want to use up some of my stash. So I thought I had dyed this yarn here, the red, and it was also a sport weight. So I thought, okay, I'll get the Durasport and in the cream, and I'll use this red, and I'll just use this orangey. The designer, I think Erika Frank, is that what it was? Magnolia Bloom, Homestead, no. Yep, Turbridge Cowl. Erika Field. Sorry about that. She had used oranges, and I'm really into orange and teal and all of that, so I'm into the fall colors. I just love that. But anyway, so when I knitted it, I thought, well, that is actually really pretty. So I don't know where my brain went, but it actually didn't stay with me that day. So it had a ribbing down here, and for whatever reason, I did not read the instructions to add the top rib. I cast off and I was fine. And then I thought after, okay, so this is actually okay. I'm not gonna add the rib. I might, but I doubt it. Anyways, for me, that was okay. But yeah, stuff happens. I don't know what happened there. So that was a Turbridge Cowl, and it used some of my home dyed, and it was Durasport by Briggs Little. And again, it is a bit of a hardier yarn. And then I had some of this yarn left over, and I thought I had what if I make socks with that? So I was looking in Yarn Pond, which is the testing pool for knitting socks, and I looked on Ravelry, and the Homestead collection, I had tested socks for them before, and it's usually toe up or top down, same sock. The toe up has a gusset in it, and I've not had huge successes with toe up gussets because they tend to not fit quite right. Like, for whatever reason, my foot gets too long in it. But I thought, well, I'll give it a try, and I went right by, I met Gage, and I did all I needed to do. I went to the store, I bought the brown, or maybe I had it, I don't remember. But I did buy more yarn to dye because I was in love with this color. And look how beautiful that knitted up. And it has a It has a braid in the front. It's called Sourdough by the Homestead Collection. And they either have it in toe up or they have it in top down. Whatever your preference is. Mine was toe up. I like toe up because I really don't like the Kitchener stitch, even though now I can probably do it with my eyes closed, but it's a bit of a fiddly thing, so why? Anyways, and I use the knit two, you knit the stitch, put it back on the right needle, and then you knit two together through the back loop. Put that stitch back onto the left needle and knit them together through the back loop. That's my cast off here. It does get a bit wavy, but once it's on the foot, it's not wavy at all. And the reason why I use that cast off is anything that sits just a little bit tight on my skin will make it swell, and it drives me crazy. Like, it literally does. It cuts off my circulation and everything. So I have to use really stretchy bind offs. So that was from beginning to end. Homemade, not homemade yarn, home dyed yarn, and I really like them. And it's a sport weight. So the needles that I used was, I think, 3.25. Very fast knit. Super fast gift, especially for boots. Now, a lot of people use like fashion boots, so you can't really wear those in the fashion boots. I believe that they're too thick. But if you have regular going out boots to go sledding with the kids or do whatever it is that you need, those are just perfect. Then my grandson was over for a weekend, and he says, I made him last year or 2 years ago, I don't even remember. I had made him a pair of, at his request, fingerless mitts, and he didn't really need them because they were fingerless mitts and it might be cold out there. No, he needed them because he's an action hero and they all have these little mitts on and he needs them. And I'm surprised because after all of this time, he's not lost one of them. And he always has them on. So when we're talking on Facebook Messenger and we call each other, and he has no shirt on. He might have shorts on or his underwear or pajama pants or like boxers kind of thing. But he'll have the mitts on all the time. He has them on in school, and when he brought them here, they were filthy. Like, his mom doesn't really want to wash anything that I make because she's afraid of wrecking it, and he would have a super duper meltdown. So when he was here, he says, yeah, Oma, like, mom doesn't want to wash them because she's afraid of them. So I showed him how to wash them in the sink, and now he washes them every night, which I think is just hilarious. But anyways, he said to me, well, you could make me a warmer pair, because he really does also like them for the winter time. So I used the same pattern. I just used bigger needles, and it's actually a pattern for little people. But it always seems to work out for me because I use 4.5 needles or 4.0 needles. I'll put the link again about everything that I showed you today. I'll put the links in the bottom. So he picked the colors himself, and this is Cascade 220, and it is 100% wool, so his hands won't get sweaty or anything. And if he's cold, he can fold it up, and if he's not cold, he can fold them down. But how cute is that? And I ended up making 2 little mattress stitches in the golden here so that he knows, like, the hearts have to kiss. That's how he knows it's on the bottom and on the inside. So that's pretty cool. And it's 2 hearts, one of mine and one of his. But he couldn't have them yet because I wanted to have him here for the show. I mean, I have 3 pairs of socks that I knitted and a sweater that is not here because I sold the 2 and I took the rest to the store. So I do want to have some stuff here to show you. But aren't they cute? And I think they only took me, I don't know, an evening, a few hours anyways, not lots. And I use the this for the stripes, I use the helix knitting. And here you can see that the transition in it, working it around, sometimes is a little bit tighter. So I actually have to watch that. But for him, they're going to be perfect. He won't know any better at all. Then in the summer or in the spring, I had knitted a sweater, and it's called There and Back Again Cardigan by Tania Barley. And it's a really pretty sweater design. I didn't sew any buttons on it because I don't really care for buttons. It has this almost like wheat stitch or something. It looks like wheats to me. Anyways, it is very pretty, and it's made with Estelle Eco Tweed in the color of wine. And then of course I bought it, and 2 weeks later it goes on sale for like $7 off each ball. I was like, gee. Anyway, it's very pretty. Now, the collar was really loose, and I don't know if it was the way that I cast off, because as I mentioned before, my cast offs, if they're too tight on the wrist, on the leg, they bother me, and I think I just get into that zone, and either I wasn't really paying attention, or I thought, oh, I don't want it too tight or whatever. But it was really loose and droopy. So what I did is I used my crochet hook, and I just crocheted a row of slip stitch. So it's not even a stitch, it's just you pull up a loop, you pull it through, pull up the next loop and pull it through, and it gives you a really pretty edge. You can't really see that that was done with a crochet hook, but it pulls in the top. I added, did I add buttonholes? I think I did, just in case the designer needed me to put the buttons on. But since I don't really like buttons, and I never close my cardigans, this was not going to be a thing. And the reason why I showed you this is that sometimes we can always go back and fix something that really didn't work out. And I seem to have had a soft month this month, and some of the things that I did or that I tried out actually did not work out. And I really hope in the last videos that I rewatched, it looked like the painting behind me was on an angle and everything looked tilted off a little bit. So now I tilted my camera. For me, it looks straight, but I'm on an angle a little bit, but I'm a big girl, so I can deal with that. So hopefully it won't look as wonky when you see it, because that was kind of weird. Anyways, I had a big sock month, so I took some socks to the Little Red Mitten, and I have a lady that orders socks for me, and she had ordered a couple of pairs, and because I knitted the socks here, the sport weight socks, I thought, I feel like knitting socks. I haven't done that for a little bit, so let's knit socks. So I ordered Halloween yarn on Hobby. I ordered more than Halloween yarn, but, and I have to say it was a really good price. However, I got dinged with duty twice. The first time I think was $30 Canadian, and the second time it was $38 Canadian. So when I add all of that up, wasn't that great of a deal anymore, but I have it and that's fine. And the sock yarns that I bought is Halloween yarn. So I thought I'll make some Halloween socks. And I love Halloween colors. That is just my thing. Did I only have 3? No, I had 4. So Halloween colors, beautiful. I love the neon in it, and they're socks, so for me they're fun. So I thought, oh, I brought this down, but now I'm thinking this is a thicker, this is I just saw that in my stash as I was walking by, but it is an 8-ply yarn. It's not, it is sock yarn, but it's not fingering. So when I was at the Little Red Mitten, they have these guys here. They have them in bright green, bright orange, this kind of a blue. And I already had some neon-y, well, not neon-y, but magenta, which is quite bright. So this here is 50 grams, which most European balls of yarn come in 50-gram balls, and it's 210 meters. So you would probably need like 2 for a pair of socks, even though my pair of socks is 79 grams. My thumbs don't really work right at this particular minute. What I wanted to show you is, okay, maybe I'll make a mess, but if I do, it's okay. Come on. Might have my son to get it out. What I wanted to show you is that all of the Yavol yarns, come on. Okay, getting it. Have a spool of, and you can feel it when you touch it, it's right in there. They have a spool of extra yarn in there so that you can knit it into the toe or the heel. And the way that they work is like a lot of sewing threads as well. They have this line here. Can you see it? There is a line in the lid. So what you do is you pop the lid up a little bit. You can open the lid up a little bit, see? And then once you started using the yarn and you're done with it, you just feed it in this thing here and you snap it closed. And it won't go anywhere. Sorry, was off camera there. So that's how these guys work. And for me, I tend to not when I wear out my socks, I don't wear them out here. I wear them out down here if I have rough feet, and I often will wear it through up here if my nails are not trimmed properly. I'll wear the yarn through a little bit, so I'm always careful to have my feet trimmed kind of thing, so my socks last quite a while. Anyways, I love these colors, and I thought I'll buy this color here to go with it, which is almost like this electric green. And these are the colors that I had purchased. So then, of course, I can't wait and start it. So I made one of the socks right here. And I used this magenta. I already had that in my stash, and it's a really vibrant color. And in here, of course, I use my what is it called, easy toe up socks. I think the name that I gave it is Easy Toe Up Socks. It's by me. It's $5 Canadian, and there is, if you go in one of the past videos, I have a code in there so that you can get it a little bit cheaper I think there's a code in there so that you can buy it for $2 Canadian, I believe. But you'll have to look at which video it is. It's in the sock hell video because I used that pattern here. But look how tight this is. It's gorgeous. Just, and it turns out every single time. And again here, you can see how wide I can pull this. So if you have tiny legs and your socks slip down, you don't really want to use that cast off. You can just use a regular cast off. And then I had signed up for a sock test, and the sock test is called, well, wrote everything down besides this one. I think the strawberries, no, rhubarb and strawberries is the last one that she had, and it's a color one, and it has a brioche heel. And this here is the second one that goes with that. It has big bubbles and little bubbles. So I bought this brown here. It's an Estelle sock, Barocco sock. It's a Barocco sock, and it's $14.50 per 100 grams or something. So I bought this one, and I bought a petrol, like lighter, like the other sweater that I'm, like a robin egg, kind of darker robin egg. And for whatever reason, when I was sitting there and I started to knit it, I thought it has an interesting construction. And the construction is that you actually pick up the increase for the bottom of the, or for the back of the heel on the bottom of the sole this way, and then you knit your heel cap, and then you kind of knit it up this way. So it does look a little bit baggy. I haven't tried it on, but I think it'll be a good fit. And she shows how to adjust, even if your row gauge is off a little bit, where you need to start the increases so that it will fit your foot. So it goes deeper down here. Well, yeah, you can see that quite well. It's very pretty, but I don't know why I changed the color. So I thought, well, what if I make this for a Christmas present for my niece, because she's also a knitter, and they have something in a different design, and kind of an interesting or challenging design. We're always playing back and forth with that. So I thought, oh, I'll use this green. I don't know why I thought that, because really you can't, in here, I asked my son, I said, what do you think when I started here? And I should have listened to my own gut feeling there, but I didn't. So, oh well, I thought it's a sock. It'll be in the shoes. It doesn't matter. She'll get two pairs. She'll get this pair here. And then because I thought this is kind of like a little bit cumbersome to do all of this, so I did the stripes so I have a little bit of height. This is not in the pattern. This is my own thing because I thought I'll just make another one. Her favorite color is green. This is why I thought this was a good idea. And color transitions very often are good ideas like this, but this has that Fair Isle where you have a little bit of lighter and then a bit of darker and a little bit of lighter, and the way that they pull, they look like little Fair Isle blips. That really did not work in this, not to my thinking anyway. So I'm not crazy about it. She'll get it and she'll love it just because I made it, but I'm like, okay, well, anyways. So I'll have to redo this one. So I have 2 single socks that I made kind of for myself, but I'll have to, this will have to go on the side for a minute because I have a deadline on the other one, and I'll have to knit number 2 of that, but that'll all be done before October 31st. And then of course, as soon as the yarn came, I had to start a sock, but I started this sock here, this one. And it's this guy, and I had black, so that kind of worked. And then I thought, I don't wear my socks through, like I just said, on the bottom of the heel, that, or on the back of the heel, where you use that reinforced stitch. That just never happens to me. So I thought, what if I do that reinforced, like that slip stitch where you just use that for the heel? What if I do that for the whole bottom of the sock? I want to give that a try and see how that works. And really, my socks are only 60 stitches. That works out perfect with my gauge and 2.25 needles. So it's not like I'm spending days and days and days of knitting if it doesn't work. But in my brain, I thought that actually should work. Well, it doesn't. And so this here is the front of the sock, and I used three knits, 1 purl. And on the back of the sock for the whole sole, and look at that, even in this yarn you get a jog. It's all on one continuous yarn. But anyways, as you can see, the front is a lot longer than the back, and I wanted to rip it back and to the toe and then just knit it back up, and maybe just short of the heel, maybe this much. I'll do this, and maybe the first inch here or half an inch. But if you do it as a continuous, it kind of doesn't work, because this compresses, because you lift every second stitch. It's not quite right. So I'll rip it back. So notice, you don't need to give that a try. I already did. No, it doesn't really work. That's fine. Back to the drawing board. But talking about that, I want to show you some things that I did with socks, where I always think when you're knitting yourself, you can really make things anatomically correct, or you have a bigger bust or a smaller bust. You can put short rows in there where you have a breast dart on the sides, or your tummy is a bit bigger. You can make the front a bit bigger, or put darts on this side. Like, you can just personalize things so that they really fit you well. So somebody was talking about these anatomically correct socks, because really when you look at your toes tend to go this way, where your big toe is to the little toe, unless you have like straight toes. My sister has a hammer toe. So anyways, one of the knitters that I was reading or following, and they had said, well, do the thing of where your toes are, the toes really mimic how they truly go. And I did that, and boy, did I ever have to pay attention on this. It was a little bit weird. It was okay. I just couldn't just knit on. And at the end of the day, I thought this was such a pain in the badoobies. Like, never mind, I'm not really, the payoff was not worth it. I'm just gonna knit regular barn toe socks where they curve a little bit in, or the wedge toe where they are like that. I'm fine with that. But what I did like on these were also toe up, and I used when I was listening to Jenna from Purl Together, she also has a YouTube on here. She was saying that she wears the socks out down here a little bit, and that's kind of where I sometimes have issues, either there or on the bottom in the front below the toes. So she uses this reinforced bit down on the sock here. So this is for the bottom of the sock. And again, because it was a little bit of a different math, you can see, I'll put it on the thingy there. The foot is longer than what I need. For me, I know that once I got my toe box done, I knit about a couple of rows or up to 5 rows sometimes, and then I knit 60 rows. I start with a heel, I do my heel, I knit 60 rows, and I knit 10 to 15 rows on my rib for the top. And I like the 2x2 rib because it's stretchier than the 1x1. But here the math was off for me. So again, I put the sock on, and about this much hangs off of the front of the foot, and because I'm stiff and sore sometimes anyways, this is not safe really for me to use. So I won't bother going through all of that again. Then I did a sock when I was teaching how to knit socks, and this sock here I wore a lot, and I did the I wanted to know if you do a garter heel, like what is that going to be like? Does your foot care? Is it better? Is it worse? Is it more cushiony or whatever? I wear this sock a lot. I can't tell you that there is a garter stitch heel. It makes no difference to my foot. Again, wasn't worth the thing. It looks anatomically, when you knit them, they don't really look anatomically correct because it's a garter ridge, so they kind of slip inside one another. The join, how I use the short rows, is a perfect join. There is no holes or anything in the join, like you can see that here or here. Even if you were to get a hole on the side, which you should not, but should you can always pick up one of those side threads even as you go back into the round. Just pick a thread or two and knit it together with that to close the hole. And as soon as you knit through it, you'll see if it'll close the hole or not. If it doesn't close the hole, drop it and pick up another thread or two that are on the sidebars there and see whichever one it does. Sometimes I pick as many as 2 threads from different spots here that kind of pull that hole closed. On the one side where you join this thread, you have a longer thread hanging off, so you can always close the hole. On the other side, you don't really have that luxury, but just work with it. It sucks, and you'll get better at it all the time. So as you can see, I played a lot around with knitting socks and what is better and what is not. In at the end, it makes absolutely no difference. We're losing a bit of the sun here, and all of a sudden there's the sun right across from me shining through the windows. It's giving me a couple of different rays, but it's okay. We're almost done anyways. There was just one thing that I did want to highlight, and that is knitting for different health. So I had said before that I have rheumatoid arthritis and I have Sjogren's and a lot of those autoimmune things that go together, that all of a sudden the yarns that my body didn't really react to before, I now find mildly to, oh boy, this is itchy. But another thing that I want to talk about is I had a heart attack 3 years ago in 2021. It was in the middle of the pandemic, so maybe 2.5 years ago. And I've always been an insomniac, where maybe I get 2 hours of solid sleep a night, and that's kind of why I get a lot of knitting or sewing done during the day or whatnot. But that's always what it's been. Like, I go to bed at maybe at midnight and I'm awake again at 2:30 until maybe 5 or 6. Sometimes I get up and sometimes I just stay in bed. It's been such a long time that I just stay there and rest. And I did notice that a lot of the time I'm short of breath for sometimes no apparent reason, but really there was no great concern or whatever. I was more concerned with, oh, maybe I'm going to turn into a diabetic because my younger son, he's 27. I was a gestational diabetic with him. But however, back to the story, we went to a butcher shop. It was just before Valentine's Day. And my son had his beginner's driver's license and my daughter was sitting in the back. And at this point, he's been driving for months. He's doing quite well. So we leave the butcher shop and we want to go and pick up my daughter's Halloween, not Halloween cookies, Valentine's cookies. And on the way there, must have been only like 10 minutes, my arm was bugging me and my hands were bugging me. But since I also have Raynaud's of where your hands feel numb or they go white, I wasn't really sure what am I feeling. And you hear about women having different heart attack symptoms than men, like it goes through the stomach or you feel feverish or whatever. And that is not what it felt like for me. So sometimes when you have indigestion and the gases come up, you feel like, if I could just open my bra for a minute, I'll be fine. And I had more that sort of a feeling and this annoying thing in my arm. So I must have done this a few times where I said like, I just don't feel well. And all of a sudden I was nauseous and I'm not putting together any dots at all. My daughter in the back seat, she is, because she's thinking, what are you doing with your arm, Mom? Like, what's going on? And I said, well, I don't know if it's Raynaud's or whatever, but all of a sudden, like, this is like a really weird feeling. It wasn't that it hurt, but it was something there. I can't even explain what it felt like on my arm. Maybe a tight pulling of the muscles or more a sensation. So she says, do you think you're having a heart attack? I'm like, heart attack? Why would I be having a heart attack? Like, I'm 60, like, I'm not having a bloody heart attack, like maybe anxiety attack or something. And I haven't had that for a long time. So my daughter's is like, so what do you want to do about it? I said, well, I don't know. I just want to go home and lay down. She says, you're not doing that. So here is your choice. Either Matthias is going to drive you to the hospital. And we went to University Hospital. We have 2 hospitals here in London, Ontario. It is a university town, and the one deals more with heart attacks. The other one, you're just kind of holding, and then they transfer you there. So we thought, go there right away. So she says, either you do that or we go to my place. We're like 2 minutes away and I'll call an ambulance to meet us there and then they can take you. I'm thinking like, holy crap, like I guess I've been told, but I wasn't really sure. And at this point, like I thought, if I could just vomit, I feel better. And that was almost like a general bit of, I wasn't feeling well. So my son drove, and here we are in the middle of COVID. Nobody is allowed to go in with me. They dropped me right at the front of the door, and I'm kind of still telling him, like, you need to turn right, turn left, and whatever. And my daughter is trying not to say anything, and this is after, of course, we had talked. She said she didn't want to freak out my son, because he suffers from schizophrenia and he has his beginner's license. He doesn't have his full license. So he needs me as a licensed person to sit in there with him. So he drives me to the hospital and I get out. I walk myself in. I'm actually not worried about what's going on in the car with the kids. And you go in, you have to go to the nurse and tell them what it is. And I said, well, I think I'm having a heart attack. They take me to triage, and I do have to give a shout out to the University Hospital here in London, Ontario. From the time that everything started until I was actually in the operating room was maybe 40 minutes, maybe. I got in, they wanted to take my blood pressure or whatever, and I think I was just fading in and out. So they put me right into the operating room, and I thought that somebody was going to rip my teeth out. Like, the pain was so intense, but I didn't feel it anymore in my arms or whatever. It was all in my mouth, which was completely weird. And then from one second to the next, pain turned off. The doctor said, oh, the stent is in. But I was coding on the table. And the reason why I'm saying that is that it is important to understand what the heart attack feels like. Because the doctor had said to me, like, do you know how close you came to being dead? And I said, well, no, not really. He said, well, what would you have done if you would have been by yourself? I said, I would have gone home to sleep. He said, you would have been dead. Because by the time I got to the hospital, I had 100% blockage of my arteries. And of course, it was cholesterol, I would think. I no longer smoke. I haven't smoked in over 20 years. But it is kind of interesting that you can be a woman of mature years, or whatever you want to call it, and you don't really know what to look out for heart attack for women, because there is so much conflicting information out there. Now, I'm not saying that everybody's going to feel the same as I did with a heart attack, but it sure was kind of interesting. So this is my takeaway, and I just had my heart checkup last month, and I thought I really want to put that out there. Like, do take care of your heart, and don't take it for granted. This shortness of breath that I was experiencing for not really no reason at all, that could have been or should have been something that was checked, because I'm pretty sure these arteries didn't clog up overnight. And the other thing that I had experienced is about 2 weeks before the heart attack, I would sleep through the night and I'd be tired. And I think that my heart was working so hard to get whatever my body needs, that I was exhausted at the end of the day. There was no more insomnia or anything, and the heart attack had fixed that. There's no insomnia now or anything. So anyways, that is my little health plug for anybody that is listening, anybody that needed to hear that today. Let me know in your comments if you had any fails, or if you had fails in your socks or in your knitting or whatever, or something that worked really well for you. I'll list all of the projects that I showed you today in the write up below. And if there's anything that you wanted me to show you, or anything that you want to know about, or if you want to talk about health things, like, jot me a line. And I'm very happy that you stopped by, and we'll chat next time for our Knit and Chat 4. You have a fantastic weekend, and thank you for watching.